You did. You got a 1 minute. Well, Jerry, I know sometimes you're late, so I wanted to give you that 30 seconds to get there.
Not like you would wait on me anyway.
Of course I would. Did I got so quiet? Oh, look. Members of Budget and Finance, we will come to order. As a reminder, which I will make at the end of this meeting and then again tomorrow night, our budget hearings begin at 4 o'clock on Wednesday, May 21. There'll be another copy of our, a revised copy of our agenda. There is, for example, a change on Wednesday. The players stay the same, but their times are slightly different. So I urge you all to look at that when you get that tomorrow on your desks, and we look forward to beginning that discussion. We begin today with 2014-1091. Councilman Stein appropriates $2 million from the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing to three nonprofit organizations selected to receive grant funds to assist in providing quality, affordable housing. We have an enthusiastic motion from Councilman Maynard and a second. Is there discussion? Councilman Tigert.
Yes. How many organizations were considered for these grants?
Former Councilman Cole, you're recognized.
Thank you, Councilman. We had 26 organizations come to the initial review meeting. We had 7 or 8, I think, that were qualified to apply, and then the 3 that were actually awarded the amounts.
Give us a brief overview, Eric, if you would, as to what type of projects these 3 organizations will be doing and who will be impacted.
Sure. The largest one is a 20-unit redevelopment or reconstruction of a pretty blighted property that actually was in the news a fair amount for negative reasons, codes violations, health department violations. That's on Clarksville Highway. That'll be 20 units with some locked-in affordability for different populations. Most of the rest are single family or, well, not single family, but they're single units that have spaces for two bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, spread out on largely on vacant lots currently.
Is all the property that they're going on zoned appropriately, or will there be any zoning required?
There will be no zoning required. That was one of the criteria that the commission considered as we went through the process, was that we wanted the property in hand and already zoned.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Langster.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. While you're standing with the mic in your hand, the one on Clarksville Highway, is that at 26 in Clarksville, an old apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am, that's it.
Oh, the neighborhood is most grateful that we've tried every which way to get that demolished. That is a much needed eyesore to come down, and I think whatever the group was for picking that one in the 21st District.
Thank you, Council Lady.
And I understand there's several more in the 21st District.
That's correct. They're in the 21st District and the 2nd Councilmanic District. We were focused on the pockets of poverty population. We also really targeted 30% of area median income and below to get at funding a quality, affordable housing within neighborhoods that we couldn't fund through other mechanisms.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of 1091 say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 1091 is recommended. Mr. Cole, you're still pretty good with that microphone. 2014-1092, Councilman Stein and Pardue approves an application for renewal of a state grant of $4,393,080 to the state trial courts to fund the Davidson County Community Corrections Program. Moved and seconded. Are there questions? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 1092 will be recommended. 1093, Councilmembers Stein and Pardue, approves an amendment to a state grant to the Police Department for continuation of an enhanced DUI enforcement initiative by increasing the grant amount by $400,000 for a new grant total of $799,089.55. Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 1093 will be recommended. 1094, Councilmembers Stein and Pardue approves the continuation of an intergovernmental agreement between the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Police Department for the use of off-duty police officers to patrol the Corps' recreation areas at Percy Priest and Old Hickory Lakes. Moved and seconded. Councilman Tygart.
John's analysis has a statement, the term of this agreement is somewhat in question. What does that mean?
You win the prize. We wondered who would read the end of his analysis. Mr. Cooper.
The documents that were included with the resolution had two different term dates. One looked like it was a form secondary employment unit contract, and then the other was a maybe a contract sheet that may have been an internal document. So I guess the bottom line is I'm not exactly sure when it begins and ends, but we have a capped amount for what we will receive.
I'm sure we'll spend it. And you don't know how thrilled I am to know it wasn't a typo on Mrs. Waller's part, because I knew that'd be the first mistake she'd ever made.
That's correct.
And still not made one. Any further discussion on 1094? See none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 1094 is recommended. 1095, Councilmembers Stein and Maynard approves a state grant of $3,051,000 to the Metro Health Department to fund the Help Us Grow Successfully program. Moved by Councilman Maynard and seconded. Is there any discussion? See none, those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 1095 is recommended. 1096, Councilmembers Stein and Maynard approves an annual state grant of $318,600 to the Metro Health Department to enhance the health and well-being of women, infants, and families. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 1096 is recommended. 1097, Councilmembers Stein and Maynard approves an annual state grant of $92,600 to the Health Department for food safety services. Moved and seconded. Any comments? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 1097 is recommended. 2014-1101, Councilman Stein approves an amendment to a state grant to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to prepare dislocated workers for re-entry into the labor force and to provide training for those facing serious barriers to productive employment by increasing the grant amount by $117,000 for a new grant amount of $429,582. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 1101 is recommended. 1102, Councilmembers Stein and Hunt approves a continuation grant of $20,000 from the Metro Development and Housing Agency to the Metro Historical Commission to perform reviews required by federal law to determine potential adverse effects to historic properties. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councilman Tygart.
Could we get an example what a potentially adverse effect might be?
Mr. Walker, come on down. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, Councilman. Yeah, I'll try to answer your question. It most typically happens when federal funds are used. A typical example you hear is when there's a road widening or road construction that uses federal funds. It might take down a historic resource. Give an example of there's an intersection at Woodmont and Estes that had federal funding. They actually moved the road so it wouldn't affect the property that was eligible for listing on the National Register in that case. So they remediated and tried not to cause an adverse effect. It's caused interstates to be shifted, but if it's a federal requirement, federal law, if there are federal funds, it'd have to go through that process.
Councilman Gilmore.
It's not pertaining to this, but I did have a question. but it's not.
Not on this bill?
No.
Well, then why don't we just hang on just a minute?
Okay, and I just want to, and I know that I'm not right, but I did want to make sure that I got my question in.
Was it regard to the Historical Commission and MDHA? Then just hang on for a minute. Let's pick something that might be close to topic. Okay? Any other questions on 1102? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 1102 is recommended. 1103, Councilman Stein authorizes Department of Law to settle the personal injury claim of Chastity Buchanan against Metro for the amount of $9,000. May I have a motion? And seconded, is there questions? Seeing none, those in favor of 1103 say aye. Opposed, no. 1103 is recommended. Before we move to second reading, Councilwoman Gilmore, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you so much. We had gone so fast. I did want to ask about, it was 1101, and just request if we could get reports as it relates to the people that are attending these reentry program, as it relates to districts. And I know we had discussion and everything, but I pushed the button.
We will pass that on to them and ask them for that information.
Thank you. That's what I wanted. Thank you.
Mr. Cooper, if you would.
Is that a report by council district?
I would like to have a report by council district and just see the particular demographics that they're assisting.
They cover a 7-county area, so, I mean...
Just Nashville.
Yeah, so just the portion for Nashville by district. Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Bills on second reading, 2014-665. Councilman Tigert submits a 0.5% local sales and use tax increase to the public for a referendum vote for the purpose of funding mass transit and Metro Nashville Public Schools. Councilman Tigert, you're recognized for a motion.
I would move to defer one meeting, please.
Move to defer for one meeting, and second, is there discussion on the deferral motion? Seeing none, those in favor of deferral say aye. Opposed, no. 665 is deferred one meeting. 666, Councilman Tigert amends the Metro Code to increase the amount of the annual vehicle license fee for both commercial and non-commercial motor vehicles. Councilman Tigert?
Move to defer one meeting, please.
Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor of deferral say aye. Opposed, no. 666 is deferred for one meeting. 748, Councilman Stein approves an agreement between the Metro Arts Commission and West Staff for the archiving of public art. May I have a motion? Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 748 is recommended. 751, Councilmember Stein, Hunt, and others, declares 14 parcels of Metro government-owned property to be surplus and authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to sell the property in accordance with standard procedures. May I have a motion? Moved and seconded. Is there discussion on 751? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 751 is recommended. 752, Councilmembers Gilmore, Stein, and Hunt, declares the old Ben West Library building located at 225 Polk Avenue to be surplus and authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to sell the property in accordance with standard procedures. May I have a motion? Moved and seconded. Councilwoman Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you. There was a clause in there about protection of historic portions of the building or something. Could we get some clarification on how that would work and how those portions of the building are determined?
Mr. Reedman, do you want to respond?
I'll try. Obviously, the goal behind this surplus is that we're going to try to preserve the building, and we want to see it redeveloped. It's, keeping the historical significance. So what we've agreed to do is to undergo a process where we declare it surplus, and MDHA will take it over and run an RFP process to find a qualified development team who would then buy the building and then go through the redevelopment of it. And we'll see, and with the goal being that it be kept, in the historical sense. That's the process we're going to undergo, and we'll see what happens once the RFP sort of hits the streets. But clearly, we heard loud and clear from a lot of different individuals here as well as where the desire to try to keep that building and preserve it if possible. And that's what we're trying to do.
Councilwoman Berry.
Thank you, Chair. A quick question, and this may have been resolved, so this may be very, very old information, but at one point, there was talk that there wasn't really a clean title to this.
Correct.
Has that been cleared, and do we, if by taking this act, are we putting ourselves at jeopardy for losing this property?
No, we're actually working with the heirs of the property on this. Mr. Solomon may correct me if I'm saying anything wrong here, but of course he will correct me, it's what he will do. But we're working with the heirs on this, and they're in agreement with this plan, and that if it goes forward, they would be entitled to a portion of the proceeds because they do have the reversionary interest in the property that I think everyone seems to agree on. So they're in support of this process, understand why we're going this way, because they don't own all the property. The heirs only own a portion of the property, so it gets complicated. So they're supportive of this process, and they're sitting back and waiting to see what we get from the potential sale of it.
Thank you.
Councilman Maynard.
Thank you. And Rich, if you can continue, I know we said that the MDHA will send out the RFP, and then that committee, they will be responsible for determining the best use and development of that. And I know that there have been, as you know, we've been called on this property, and I guess it's, I'm just wondering from a general perspective how the council, without it being a cluster, can respond to people who are contacting us about the use, especially institutions, you know. And I'm not asking for a specific answer, I guess kind of putting it out there that I've already been contacted by 2 different institutions about the specific property. If you just address that.
Yeah, I think, you know, historically, the city's worked well with MDHA on these kind of process before, and it seems to have gone well. That's why the public property staff is recommending that we go this route again. I think that as it relates to, you know, potential use, I mean, I think we're open to, you know, whoever, you know, wants to submit a proposal on it. But it's complicated somewhat by, as Council Lady Berry pointed out, the title issue, that the heirs, there are heirs that have some claims to at least a portion of the property, and they think this is the best way to go to try to maximize their value and everyone's value. So we're going to go down this route and see what happens, and we think it's in everyone's best interest to go this way.
Councilman Claiborne.
I thought I'd punch my button off. I had a question about the Council Lady Berry asked that the issue with the heirs and the dedicated use of the property had been resolved or is being resolved.
Yes. Everyone's working together to get it resolved.
Councilman Tiger.
What's the timetable for this procedure, Rich?
I don't know precisely. I'll try to get that for you between now and tomorrow. I know that should the council declare it surplus, MDHA has already been working on, because I've gotten a couple emails from them in terms of what ideas of what to be included in the RFP. So I would think a pretty quick RFP would go out, but I'll try to get an answer for you between now and tomorrow.
Is there a fallback position if no bids are suitable or received?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but yeah, that's conceivable. Because I mean, because of the potential cost of having to keep the property, you know, in a historical condition, it could be that it's not a marketable development property. I don't think that's the case because of sort of the real estate market in Nashville and the general location and all that, but I think if there is no proposals, then we just have to readdress the situation.
And you hit the key that there are some costs associated with maintaining the building, securing it, and whatnot.
And we've been through this process now since I've been here, so for 7 years now almost, and there's no use in metro government for this property that anyone really has identified, and you know, when we really talked to the state about them taking over the property, and there's a pretty prohibitive cost for the state to take over it, to do what they wanted to do with it. So it's going to take you know, a development team with some vision and some creativity. I think you may be able to go up on the building site because of the way it was built. Issues, you know, things like that, they're going to have to be looked at. But as you know, the residential market is pretty hot. There's a new development going in the old Federal Reserve building, an apartment development or condo, I'm not sure which it is, so residential development. So I think, you know, it's a good time to see if there's interest for this because of the nature of real estate market in Nashville today. So that's why we're going.
Eric Cole may be interested in becoming a Walgreens distributor. No comment, thank you.
Councilman Bedney.
I want a clarification on something, Mr. Ridling. When I was working on the team that designed the Howard office building, we had to have the Historic Preservation Office, the local office, sign off on the design to ensure that it met their guidelines. Is that going to be the case here? Are we going to engage with our local office to have them sign off on the deal?
I know the Public Property has already been in contact with Mr. Walker's at Historical Commission on this, so I would think that they'll be in the process, yes. Short answer is yes.
So there will be a requirement for them to sign off?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Further questions on 752? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 752 is recommended. 758, Council Members Matthews and Hunt designates Kings Lane between Eatons Creek Road and Clarksville Pike as Bishop Michael Lee Graves Boulevard. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. 758 is recommended. We move to memorializing resolutions. 984, Councilman Tygart requests the Davidson County delegation to the Tennessee General Assembly to introduce and support the necessary legislation to provide a dedicated funding source for local mass transit. Councilman Tygart.
Move to defer one meeting.
Moved and seconded to defer one meeting. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor of deferral say aye. Aye. 984 is, opposed, no. 984 is deferred for one meeting. 1082, Councilman Scott Davis requests the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency to create a redevelopment plan for a portion of Council District 5 and requesting the Industrial Development Board to explore the creation of an economic impact plan for the same area. May I have a motion for the purpose? And a second. Councilman Davis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. The area is spelled out within the bill. It may look like a bunch of highways going east and west. Within that core, there is a significant part of my district that touches the downtown area. And as we know that, we've built up everywhere else, and we've gone west, we've gone south. Germantown is on fire, thanks to Council Lady Gilmore, and now we have a great new baseball stadium coming in with a lot of good development. So now I feel it's time that we move across the river and include that riverfront property that's in my district, as well as where the old Salvation Army building is. The Stadium Inn, which I know most of us want to see gone, the Knights Inn, and all those areas that are touching downtown where we can expand our downtown, because frankly, our city is a great place to be. It's always been, but now the whole world knows it. And so we're going to need density, and we're going to need to have places where we can add to our skyline that's friendly. And I'm just letting everybody know the 5th is open for business. So let's get it done. Thank you.
Any other discussion on 1082? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 1082 is recommended. Once again, I remind everyone, Budget Committee and any council members that are interested, we begin our budget hearings at 4 p.m. in this room on Wednesday, May 21. We stand adjourned.